Welcome back. Welcome back to another diary read with Habiba, your host today. For those of you who don't know me. So I got some Cherry Garcia ice cream, naughty girl. And of course we have the infamous diary. So before I get started, let's see. Actually, you know what? I can't talk to you and eat this ice cream. Let me finish this ice cream and I'll come back and talk to you. It's not that much actually, so I'm not trying to overdo it, just a little. Cherry Garcia. It's got the chocolate chips and the chunks of cherries in there. Alright, so before we get started with the diary, I wanted to address one of the comments that came in on the last diary video that I did. The one about how I found out my father married another woman. Yeah, that one. By the way, everyone who commented was very supportive and pretty much very happy to see these videos and felt that it was very interesting, and I really appreciate that. But of course you're gonna have one person, at least one person, and maybe it's more than one person, and that one person is talking for a number of people. But there was one person who said, let me read the comment, and I'm not going to put their name or handle out there because I know they're not coming from a bad place. The person says, "Dear Habiba, why not let sleeping dogs lie? Digging out family past hurts, especially reading it out to strangers is strange to me. Or is it kind of healing to you? At the end of the day, he is your father. Please don't indirectly put him out there for trolling." Okay. So I get your point. But let me put it this way. When I was reading the diary, this diary, which ironically my father gave me. So let me take you back. My father gave me this diary, and ever since I was little, my parents encouraged me to write a diary. And my father would give me a diary almost every year, him or my mother. Of course, he may not have intended me to read it out to everybody else, but I'm sure he was always very curious what I was writing in my diary. I know that for fact. So just look at it this way. I'm not just sharing it with you. I'm sharing it with him because he does watch this channel. So I have nothing to be ashamed about, or I have nothing to feel uncomfortable about. And if you feel like this in some way makes him look bad, well, let me put it to you this way. This is my past. This is my past, and I feel that I have every right to look into my past because I wrote it and it is my history. And if you recall on that video, the majority of the things that I was talking about were really about college. It was things that I had written about my experience getting into college. So I think 99% of that video, if I recall, was actually about my college or early college experience. It was not about my father. So yes, as I was reading, I found a diary entry about my father that I had written, but in full transparency, I just decided to read it and I shared it. So when I started reading, it was never intended to be about my father. But of course, this was something I had written and it pertained to my life at the time, so my father was in it. And I don't think it's a bad thing. Looking back at our past helps inform us about who we are or why we do the things we do. And so, you know, our past has a lot to do with our current situation, and also it helps teach us about how we should conduct ourselves in the future, because there's always a lot of lessons to learn. You have to understand, when I think about Nigeria, or when I talk about my upbringing, there's no way I'm going to talk about it without talking about my parents. And I think by saying that, oh, you know, digging up the past somehow, you know, is bad for him or makes him look bad, because that's what you implied. You didn't say that. I think what you're saying is I should be worried about how he looks and invalidate my feelings or my past. Or at least that's how it comes up. That it's more important to recognize how he looks to everyone than to be honest with my feelings or my past. There's some stuff that happens and I can't take it away. There's some stuff that happened that I'm sure he regrets. And yes, we've already talked about it, and I don't remember what I wrote in this book. But in order for me to be honest to you and to myself, I'm gonna read it. And I think it is therapeutic. My father is a big man, or he's a big boy, as they say in America. He can take care of himself. And I don't think in any way this is going to encourage, quote, trolls. You know, if anything, I think it would be, it's not nice if I talk about my past and I don't ever bring up my father. That's not nice, you know, if I just pretend he didn't exist, or if I just pretend, you know, my upbringing wasn't partially influenced by my father. I mean, what is that? I think for me, when I look back at my diary, it gives me a bigger understanding. Because sometimes you forget, you think you've always been this way, but no, you haven't. You went through a process, you went through some struggles, you went through some issues. And I'm sorry if you feel like it's, quote, digging up the past. But there are definitely a lot of lessons, not just for myself, but perhaps for parents out there, and for even for my father, and for anybody listening or who cares to listen. And it doesn't come from a place of malice. I think what's important is also how we processed that past, or how I process this information. You know, it's not like, oh, I read it and then I get super angry, or then I have, you know, hateful towards my father. I feel the same way about my father before I read the diary as when or after I read the diary. All it did is help explain, you know, certain things to me, and again, why I acted the way I acted over time. I think this was a long-winded explanation, but I hope you understand. Okay, let me see if I can find where I left off. See, I didn't even really fill this diary, but you know, I definitely did write quite a bit. Where was I? Okay, I think I put it here. And if you're watching this for the first time, this diary was written in 1988 when I was 17 turning 18. So actually, I think the last video I had turned 18. So yeah, I was 18 years old. And I am now a whole grown woman. Many, many years later, married, had a career, had a long education, moved several states. A lot has happened since then. So it's nice to look back. All right. So again, 18-year-old me is saying, I am absolutely hopeless today. Today is the 16th of January, 1989. It is 11 a.m. I have to finish writing this before I leave at 1 p.m. to catch the bus for a 2 p.m. back to school. So, okay, the semester went along very challenging indeed. I joined Kumba. Oh my God, I don't remember that I was in Kumba. Me who can't dance. Kumba, a dance performing group. We have practice every Tuesday to Thursday and Saturdays for 2 hours, 6 to 8 p.m. This has been quite fun and a way of relieving stress. Wow! I don't think I stayed in Kumba because I don't remember being in Kumba. But Kumba was an African American dance group, and they would do some amazing dance performances. In fact, I totally remember a lot of the girls that were in the group, and they were great dancers. And I don't think I was one of them. But it was a great way to relieve stress, apparently. I really actually wouldn't mind joining a dance group now. Like, you know, just for fun, or even like a gym class that has dance classes. But I'm always afraid that I'm gonna waste money and not commit to it. Anyway, okay, fall break, October 19th through the 25th. All during this time, we had not got our green card yet. Oh, I thought we had our green card. Oh, so I've started school and I didn't have a green card? Oh, Oh my gosh, it just takes me back. It was a very stressful period, you know. We had been in the US now for 2 going on 3 years, and yeah, we were planning to stay permanently, or had planned obviously to stay permanently. I'd already done 2 years of high school in Brooklyn. Okay, so mommy had changed lawyers, and this time she was doing most of the work by herself. Her new lawyer, Josephine, was really good, and together they planned what was to be done. It was very nerve-wracking because Cornell was constantly asking for my green card, and one of the major scholarships was withholding its money without the card. Wow. Over fall break, Mommy told me that very soon I would have to leave school to go with the family to Canada. And it wouldn't be for a few days. It would have to be a minimum of 10 days to get the interview, medicals, etc. I was awfully upset and nervous. Can you imagine? This is my freshman year of college. This is an extremely stressful, high expectation university. I'm already kind of struggling, and now I'm told by my mom that we're gonna have to be away, or I have to, be away and miss school to go to Canada. Because remember, Cornell is upstate New York, and the thing about the rules for getting your green card back then, I don't know how the rules have changed, but you had to leave the country for an interview. And so to avoid leaving the country, or to avoid going to a very far place or another country too far away, we chose to go to Canada. So our interview was going to be in Canada, and to get a medical, etc. Can you imagine all the things immigrants have to go through? Oh my God, for natural born Americans, they will never know what immigrants go through. My God, I forgot about some of this stuff. I was awfully upset and nervous. How could I leave school for so long? My grades, I was worried about my grades. Plus, I don't see how school would excuse me without a damn good excuse. We had no other choice, Mommy repeatedly told me. We don't have a choice. It was that, or else we would be kicked out of the country sooner or later for residing here illegally. Whew. I returned to school after fall break. It was so nerve-wracking knowing that sooner or later during the semester I would have to make a quiet or quick run. Full stop. I had to get fingerprints, which I did at the school security office, of course. There were questions, and my only reply was, it's for immigration purposes. Then I had to take passports on all of these documents I had to send by overnight service to Mommy. In a way, it was exciting having to be so secretive. It made me feel a little mysterious or mischievous, but on the other hand, I had to keep everything to myself, away from my friends. Not everything went undetected by them, so I had to cover up things with excuses sometimes. Wow. Suddenly around, this is in the morning, suddenly around the 3rd or thereabouts of November, Mommy calls me at school and tells me to get myself on the bus right away and come home. So home at the time was Brooklyn, New York. I was so terrified and said I couldn't because I had prelims later that week and finals after that. It was a real struggle, and Mommy tried to convince me that she wouldn't ask me to leave if it wasn't dead important. I guess I'm trying to figure out how I tell people that I have to leave. I had to tell the school, and I wouldn't leave without telling some of my friends. Now that I think about it, it makes me very nervous because that was the biggest lie I have ever had to tell. And as you know, as you can see from my history, I am one of those people that tells the truth. I don't like to lie. Lying does not come natural to me. Now, some people, are natural born liars. Seriously, I do believe that. There are people who lie very easily. I don't. I do act. I have taken some acting lessons since then, so I can act act very well, but when it comes to a real lie, no, it's going to bother me. So now that I think about it, it makes me very nervous because that was the biggest lie I've ever had to tell to so many people. It was decided that I was to say my grandmother visiting an uncle in Canada or someone had died and we had to go to the funeral. God forgive us. I had to get up enough courage to tell everyone this, and I know my story would be challenged. I packed my things as fast as I could and called Greyhound to find out about their next journey or next schedule to New York. Rehearsed my story over and over and once again put myself in a mood of someone who had just heard about really bad news. I guess I was trying to psych myself up. That was not very hard because I was already in a terribly shaky mood. I had my goldfish and plant, which I had to give to one of my friends to keep. The closest, Patricia. Aw, shout out to Patricia. Y'all are gonna see her with me in Florida and a bunch of my other close friends that I haven't seen in over years. Anyway, I've known Patricia since college. So I had to give her my goldfish and my plant. How was I going to face her? I guess I was scared of talking to Patricia. Y'all who know Patricia may understand. I will not go into too much detail, but it was the hardest thing I had to do. She had so many questions, and I had so little answers. Finally, I got away, had breakfast amongst some friends who noticed my sadness. Then came the biggie, talking to Janice Turner, my advisor, and I mentioned her before to you guys, Dean Turner. So I can't believe I couldn't tell anyone. I really couldn't tell anyone because I really wasn't supposed to be in school without a green card. You know, you can't get scholarships if you're not a legal resident. So I couldn't even tell my advisor, and I was pretty close to her. I can't believe how well I did, but tears actually poured out of my eyes as I told her my story. It was as if I was beginning to believe it myself. Wow. I feel like a damn psychopath reading this, actually. So for those of you that are worried about how my father looks, how do I look reading this? Oh my God. Oh my God. I can't believe this. I can't believe how well I did, but the tears actually started pouring out of my eyes as I was telling Dean Turner my story. It was as if I was beginning to believe it myself. Then I saw some of my teachers and I was off. 5 hours later, I was home. Next day we went, Grandma, Auntie Lola, and I went to the immigration building, and after some formalities, we got the letter which stated I could stay in Canada for up to the 17th of November. The following week, I think a Monday, we were off to Canada. Mommy, her 3 children, and Grandma. It was an extremely long journey on the bus, 8 hours. At last we got there and it was a little confusing getting a cab to take us to our final destination. Speaking no French, right? We were in, Canada is mostly a French-speaking country. And I speak French, but not well enough because we were in Montreal. Our stay there was very pleasant. The people we stayed with were friends of Uncle Rodney's. Were extremely nice, loving, and caring. We did a lot of sightseeing as well. The interview went very well. We left very confident that nothing could go wrong this time. With so much going on around me, it was so hard for me to discipline myself to do any schoolwork that I had intended to do while away. However, I managed to write a paper and draft plus some English reading. So basically the only class I kept up with was English. It was so difficult when I had to return to school in New York. I was so frightened. What was I going to tell school? What was I going to tell school? I kept thinking. That was all that kept ringing in my head. What was I going to tell school? Mommy told me over and over, at least according to her, what I should say, but the story never seemed solid enough for me. I ended up crying and was in an awfully bad mood. I was so scared to face everyone. See, the thing with me is I was always so innocent, you know? I was always so like goody two-shoes. I never did anything, you know, bad, and I never had any like disciplinary actions. I was always the good child and always wanted to please people. So for me to lie, even though it was for something really important, was such a big deal that weighed on my conscience. I was so scared to face everyone. Well, I returned to school on the 19th. Everyone was so happy to see me. They thought something bad had happened and that I wasn't coming back. Oh, they had so many questions, like them in the school. So finally, I told them that apart from the funeral, I had some immigration problems that I had to handle. People were so nice to me. Oh, and I couldn't stand it. I felt so bad. Plus, remember David in the last video? I told you about David. Well, David's girlfriend had just visited him. That's another story, not very important at this time. So I guess I must have felt some kind of way when I got back to school and realized that David actually had a girlfriend. Here I was returning when everyone was just leaving the following Wednesday on Thanksgiving break. Oh, okay. So yeah, it was right before Thanksgiving and I had been away. So everyone was getting ready to go to Thanksgiving break and I was coming back to school. So I had missed quizzes, prelims. I was in a mess and the material covered, during my absence was something I could not bear to think of missing. So from Monday to Wednesday, I got myself together. I got my lecture notes from the professors. I got all the information about the material I had missed from classmates and professors. I could not get tutors during the break, so I had to study on my own. I stayed for Thanksgiving break. Oh, wow, this is the Thanksgiving break that I stayed in school for. I remember this because it was horrible. It was horrible. It was the first time I had stayed in school, like the campus was almost empty. And Thanksgiving is something I enjoy because of all the food, of course. I stayed for Thanksgiving break. It was hell being all by myself, but I managed to cover a great deal of study material during the 5 days. Full stop. Thanksgiving was quite awful. For the whole day, I would eat cereal. I would eat cereal. I had no food in my fridge, and all of the dining rooms were closed for the 5 days during break. I did not know that would happen. Yeah, see, when you don't plan and you don't get your details. I didn't realize that the school dining was going to be closed during Thanksgiving. So I remember eating cereal. I remember at the time calling my grandfather, who obviously was still alive at the time, and he's very playful with me. And I would call and I would say, "Grandpa, I'm only eating cereal. What y'all eating?" And he would be like, "We eat rice and peas, curry goat, chicken," and he would just go on with this list of good food that I was missing, and I was so upset. I was like, never again. I don't care what's going on. I'm gonna be home for Thanksgiving. Finally, about 10 p.m., a generous friend of mine, offered me some real home cooking. Thanksgiving in her room, all the way from Ujima. Oh, okay, so Ujima was the dorm where a majority of the people of color used to live. At this time, or during this period, Kenton wasn't even at Cornell yet, because Kenton came as a transfer student, so I didn't know Kenton. Okay, so anyways, this girl has invited me over to her room to eat some home cooking. I ran for it, and it was just great. Finally, Thanksgiving break was over. We had a week of classes and the study period. During most of the time when people were reviewing for finals, I was just learning the material for the first time. It was just hell. But my teachers and the school was very sympathetic towards me. Oh, that's good. I got excused from a couple of quizzes. I tried to make up as much as I could. Finally, in 1 week, I took all the finals except French, which I took the prelim and oral tests that I had missed. I was to get an incomplete in that class in French, And after I return from Christmas, I take the final. Okay. All right. So I had calculus final last, and I thought it was quite awful. I was so nervous, even after the hours of studying I had done with Cynthia. Oh, shout out to Cynthia. You'll see her also during our Florida trip. She's so smart. I was so eager to go home, and home it was. The break was so great. At first I was very bored, but then I found things to do and went out often with Grandma or just on my own. Christmas was great. We took many pictures. Everyone was home. I got quite a number of presents, and so did everyone else. The tree has never been so stacked with presents before. Aw, I got a sweater from Auntie Mona, a watch from Grandma, a thin gold chain from Auntie Lola, a purse from Donette, a jewelry box, painting and coloring set, and a diary from Mummy. And to top it all, wow, $2,000 from Grandpa and Grandma for my first computer. Wow, you see, so this is why I need to look back, because honestly, you know, I know they gave me my first computer, but I didn't remember the details. And yeah, that was basically during my first year. I was extremely happy, even though Mummy thought that I didn't show it. One weekend I spent at Cynthia's house, Patricia and I. It was very nice. The rest of my vacation went by fast but was enjoyable. I saw Scrooge with Mummy and brothers, watched Working Girl. Remember the movie Working Girl? That is still one of my favorite movies. Watched Working Girl with Essie and got myself a lovely coat with leather trimming and an answering machine. Remember the whole answering machines? We all used to have these physical boxes next to our phone with answering machines. I actually... yeah, do I still have my answering machine? I think I may have found one of my answering machines, but I certainly found one of the cassettes that belonged in my answering machine. And I found all these old messages. One of these days I'm going to play it for y'all. But yeah, I found all these old messages of people calling me while I was in college. People would call me to do their hair. People would call me to go eat dinner. Like, I could hear all of my friends' voices, my voice, my brother's voices. Back then, their voices were so much higher. So it's really fascinating, yeah, to find like old recordings of different people's voices in your past. Anyway, answering machines were a big thing back then. Now, you know, we have our cell phones and people just leave you a message and it goes directly into your phone. So I will return to school very self-sufficient. I have my new coat, I'm getting a new computer, and I have a bunch of presents that I got for Christmas. How can I forget? Also, Miss Price, the person who I stayed with in Canada, was here for a couple of days after Christmas and was here to witness our receiving the long-awaited green cards. Yay! I almost want to clap for us. Leave me a thumbs up. Clap for us. We finally got our green card, and the lady we had stayed with in Canada, she actually came. She became really close friends with my grandparents and us, with my mom. And so she wanted to come celebrate with us getting our green card. It was a very nice feeling, one less burden for all of us. It had just taken 6 weeks. Oh, okay, so I'm going to stop soon. Yeah, I actually have one page left in this section, and I'll read it. Oh, I didn't tell you my experiences with David. Oh, well, it wasn't that hot. Just the beginning of a new learning experience. However, I don't think there will be anything else with him in the new year. My horoscope says coming June holds a lot for me in romance, so I will be waiting. Oh, interesting. Mummy spoke to Daddy on the phone from London a few days before her birthday. However, he did not call her on her birthday. We received cards and pictures of himself for Christmas. He has put on a lot of weight. His new wife must be feeding him well. Another headline this year was the Pan Am disaster a few days before Christmas Day. I'm assuming that was Pan Am as in the airplane, the airlines, and I think Pan Am is no longer I think they're no longer in business. There was a big plane crash that killed a lot of people. Also, Libya and the USA are at it again, and it is scary. God help us. Well, I have to split now. It's getting late. This year has been eventful. I hope the new year will have a lot of great things in store, but less stressful. God help and bless us all. Amen. So that's all, y'all. That's all for then. That's all for then. Maybe this is the end of diary reading. I don't know. Maybe. I have other diaries, but I don't remember if I wrote how much I wrote in college after that, or if it skipped till later in life. I don't remember. I don't know. Anyway, that was it, y'all. I hope you enjoyed this diary reading, and yeah, let me know what was your favorite part, and if you do indeed want me to continue reading some other diaries, some other life lessons, some other revelations. Bye!